Hello, I'm Melissa Wade for Northern State Financial. In this message, Alan Groden, founder and president of Northern State, shares some insights on wisdom and intelligence as they relate to investing.
The other night I was sitting at home reading when my son Phil called to tell me about this great book he'd just finished called When Genius Failed by Roger Lowenstein. My first thought was, oh no, not another business scandal. I can't handle hearing about one more. But Phil told me that this one wasn't like the others. He said that these guys were actually on the up and up. They had a great idea. They hired mathematicians to find inefficiencies in the market. And they made a fortune. At one point they were even turning business away. But then suddenly it all collapsed. And a lot of financial powerhouses suffered with them.
Genius, noun. An exceptional natural capacity of intellect, especially as shown in creative and original work in science, art, and music.
The problem was they relied solely on the genius of the mathematicians, on their intelligence and logic. However, as this story demonstrates, intelligence can only take you so far. After getting off the phone with my son, I looked down at what I was reading. Where Shall Wisdom Be Found by Harold Bloom. It's a book that identifies wisdom in the writings of Western poets, philosophers, theologians, and scholars throughout history.
Wisdom, noun. Knowledge of what is true or right, coupled with just judgment as to action, sagacity, discernment, or insight.
In the introduction to this book, Bloom writes, wisdom literature teaches us to accept our natural limits. In other words, we must accept the limits of our intellects and fallibility as human beings. After all, no one's perfect. This is a bit of wisdom that someone should have shared with those mathematicians. However, hindsight is always 20/20. Actually, in When Genius Failed, Lowenstein alludes to these limits and fallibilities. He quotes the English essayist G.K. Chesterton as saying, "Life is a trap for logicians, because it is almost always reasonable, but not quite. It's usually sensible, but occasionally otherwise. It looks just a little more mathematical and regular than it is. Its exactitude is hidden, its wildness lies in wait." I ended up picking up a copy of the book my son recommended, and I wanted to share with you what I gleaned from both these books with regard to investing. Because the more I thought about it, the more I realized what a fortunate coincidence it was that I read these two books around the same time. Here's why. In the two books we have two concepts, genius or intelligence and wisdom. Both are crucial in investing. However, one must always be tempered by the other. They work hand in hand, not exclusively. For example, I constantly receive a lot of great investing information from reliable sources. However, every bit of intelligence I receive must be carefully weighed and considered. Sure, there are a lot of great ideas out there, but I'm convinced that every strategy has a time when it will work and it won't work. Logic and intelligence allow me to determine whether or not something is a good investment idea. But wisdom tells me to exercise caution, to fully weigh the risks against the advantages, so that I can determine if this is a sound opportunity being employed at the right time. And the answer to that might be different for each and every one of you. After all, just as Lowenstein pointed out, life has a certain element of unpredictability to it. That's intelligence and wisdom working hand in hand, one tempering the other. After all, wisdom without intelligence is worthless. And as we learn from the book When Genius Failed, intelligence without wisdom is just a ticking time bomb. It's my goal to combine intelligence and wisdom in investment strategies to the best extent I can. That way we can set the stage for long-term success and hopefully learn a little something along the way. Till next time.